Hi everyone, at this point you should have read through my previewing questions and topics on Whiplash, and you should have watched the movie. First of all, I hope everyone liked it. I think this is a remarkable film, and it was just from a couple years ago. It was actually the film for which J.K. Simmons, who plays the jazz teacher, won an Oscar, and he kind of ran away with it. So I want to use this video just to talk about some of the ideas and some of the topics that I think run through the movie. This is by no means exhaustive. There are many other topics and questions and concerns that we can talk about. I'm just going to walk through a couple of the ones that stuck out to me. And then you can use the quiz for this week and the discussion board to throw out your own concerns and your own questions, and we can have a conversation about it. The first thing that seems so interesting to me about the movie is the relationship between the two main characters. We have Andrew Neiman on the one hand, so an aspiring jazz drummer, and then we have Terrence Fletcher, this incredibly well-regarded teacher who everyone seems to kind of humor because of what he's able to do with his student and the kinds of musicians that he is able to produce at a remarkable rate. So in some ways, the movie is a battle. The movie shows Terrence Fletcher, the jazz instructor, and Andrew Neiman, the student, constantly butting heads with each other and trying to, first of all, figure each other out. Now, that's one part of it, but the other part of it is that Andrew Neiman desires a certain amount of praise from his teacher. Right? So there are two personalities that are both battling each other, but then also on Andrew Neiman's side, he wants to almost, not quite imitate Terrence Fletcher, but wants to certainly be praised by him and wants to earn a certain kind of compliment. And he's never going to get it because it's not part of Terrence Fletcher's personality, and it's not part of how he teaches. So the second thing I want to talk about is the way in which the entire movie is thinking through tunnel vision. And you can do a super quick experiment just to kind of experience this. If you, for example, just look down at the ground, you could even do it right now, and you were just to look at a single spot and didn't let your eyes move at all, didn't let your head move at all, and you just looked at that spot. One of the things you will find is after probably about 10 to 15 seconds, your vision will actually change. You will stop seeing the area around that spot. So your mind and your eyes are actually meant to just focus there, and it cuts everything else out. Now, that is tunnel vision. You focus on something long enough, and everything else gets pushed into the margins, and eventually is just deleted entirely. In many ways, this movie is a prolonged examination of tunnel vision. What happens when someone gets so focused on a goal that they start to lose sight of everything else because nothing else actually matters for that personality? This is one way of thinking about obsession and what happens for its main character. There are a couple of major ways that the movie thinks through tunnel vision and obsession. The first is that the movie uses Nicole. This is Andrew Neiman's girlfriend. Now, Andrew Neiman is an incredibly focused drummer. Nicole is a student at Fordham who is taking all these courses and is trying to figure out what she wants to do, what she doesn't. So it actually, the movie puts these two characters next to each other, specifically to think about the relationship between tunnel vision on the one hand, that's Andrew Neiman, and on the other hand, someone who has all these different interests that they want to dabble in. The second main way, for me, that the movie works through the questions about obsession and tunnel vision is using Sean Casey. All right, Sean Casey is an incredibly interesting and important character, even though he's not in the movie. Sean Casey is mentioned, I'll make sure I get this right, 54 minutes and 40 seconds into the film, so just over the halfway point. Sean Casey is a former student of Terrence Fletcher. So about 54 minutes into the movie, Terrence Fletcher comes into the room, and there is this moment of very strange emotional vulnerability for him. He actually breaks down in front of the class, and he talks about how proud he was of this student who he, at least according to Terrence Fletcher, took from nothing, got through the school so that Sean Casey became a very renowned and well-respected musician. So 54 minutes and 40 seconds into the movie, Terrence Fletcher tells us that Sean Casey died in a car crash. Then we have that assumption built into the movie. Then at about 1 hour and 11 minutes in the movie, we find out that Sean Casey actually did not die in a car crash, that he hung himself. And it was because, at least according to the parents, of what Fletcher did over a prolonged amount of time. This is an incredibly important shadow character. So a character that's in the background, but that actually has a huge role in how we understand the movie. In some ways, I'm going to shift a little bit because of the light. In some ways, the movie is trying to think about whether Andrew Neiman can stay on his current course and not become Sean Casey. That is a main question. And I don't know if the movie gives us a clear answer, but I would be very interested to see in the discussion board or in your quizzes what you guys thought of this. The last thing I want to talk about that sticks out to me about this movie is the ending. We have to talk about it. In many ways, this movie builds towards that ending. So just to give you a quick reminder, one of the things that happens at the end is that Terrence Fletcher is no longer with the school, and Andrew Neiman is no longer in that band. However, things happen so that, and this is just what movies do that might not happen in real life, things happen so that Andrew Neiman is suddenly a part of a band that Terrence Fletcher is leading. And they go through and they do a really interesting performance of Caravan. That's the movie. If you're ever interested in hearing really, really good jazz drum solos, Caravan is such a typical example. It's so well known for drummers that just go off the rails and do amazing and spontaneous things with their instrument. All right, so the ending. There is actually quite a bit of conversation about how to understand that ending. So basically, Andrew Neiman gives an amazing drum solo while Terrence Fletcher is leading him on. He's directing him and giving him praise, right? Or at least the closest he gets to praise in the movie, right? And keep in mind that at one point in the movie, Terrence Fletcher actually says two of the most hurtful words in English language are "good job," right? Keep that in mind. So at the end, Terrence Fletcher directing him and giving a nod and giving him the encouragement as the performance goes is actually the closest he gets to praise. Anyway, so there's a conversation about whether that ending, when Andrew Neiman is able to produce an amazing drum solo, justifies the actions of Terrence Fletcher. Terrence Fletcher, throughout the movie, is this incredibly abusive, both emotionally and even physically, an abusive teacher. So, when we have a movie that ends with an amazing performance, does that justify its actions? One argument says that yes, that this is a problematic ending because it shows that all things cast aside, what matters is that Andrew Neiman was able to get further because of how Terrence Fletcher treated him. The other side of this argument, and I'm a little bit closer to this, it says that it doesn't justify Terrence Fletcher at all. And the reason that this is the case is because the ending doesn't have an optimistic feel to it. That even though he's able to produce this great drum solo, Andrew Neiman actually hasn't escaped the ghost of Sean Casey. There's a way, so this is a former student who killed himself because of how Fletcher treated him, right? So I'm not sure that the movie shows that that's not going to happen anyway, right? That at the end of the movie, Andrew Neiman might still be on a path towards destruction and being towards depression and anxiety and all these different things that caught up with Sean Casey in a really extreme way. Anyway, I'm super interested to hear what you guys think about the ending and what you think about the movie overall. And again, I hope you enjoyed it.